Hello, champions. Today, your cash flow queen is taking you to Hickory, North Carolina. And I am so excited because today we are having our first episode of our show, Keywords for Success Story. And Keywords for Success Story is meant to bring to you a series of people who have achieved the American dream. Those people who are going to be a source of inspiration, of motivation, of transformation. And those are the people that we'll be showcasing on this show. Today, I have decided to start with somebody who is very special and very dear to me. It's a brother of mine, none other than the person that I call the car guru. And when I say car guru, it's not your regular car person. This is somebody who's passionate about automobile, and he's also going as far as even training more people to get into the business of automobile. So, and he's not doing just that. He's doing so many other things that are going to inspire you today. So I want you to sit out, get a glass of wine or get some tea, get some coffee, anything that you need, but make sure you pay attention and you're going to learn a lot today. So without further ado, I want you to help me welcome my special #1 guest, Freddie Forfait. How are you doing today, my brother?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Very good, very good. I'm so glad to be here today. Thank you for having me in your immense and beautiful, exquisite home.
My pleasure. Yeah.
Yeah, so this was a long-awaited moment.
Yeah, to be honest, it's been like, I didn't think it's gonna take this long, but
yeah,
anyway,
we're here today, right?
Yeah,
so we're gonna make it happen. One thing that we have in common, you and I, is that we have so much love for our community and we love to share. That's one thing that really attracted me to you, is your willingness to always share all your knowledge and the opportunities with our people, and just make sure that we all grow together. There's no beauty in building wealth alone. It's more beautiful when together we're building that wealth, so that nobody has to depend on the other person. We're all shining, we're all growing, we're all enjoying, and it's absolutely more beautiful like that. So that's the reason why I'm coming to your beautiful house today, so you can give the opportunity to other viewers out there to know the formula of the successful Freddie that we have today. So let me ask you, Freddie, if I were to ask you to tell the viewers about you. I know it's never easy to talk about self, but
yeah,
tell us about yourself.
My name is Freddie Forfait, and I'm from Cameroon. I grew up in Yaoundé, and I moved to the US in 2016. So I'm a dad of 4 beautiful children, and I started my journey as a business owner when I was 8 years old.
Wow, that's quite impressive.
Yeah.
An 8-year-old entrepreneur.
Yeah, so it's not something that I started whenever I moved to the US or in 2019, when we are going to talk about the story about around the car business and stuff. Cameroon, as like, for people that knows Cameroon, it's a small country in Africa, and I never knew that I will be in the United States, and I never know that I'm going to be able to achieve this level of success. And like, because whenever you come from Africa, you like, when they talk about American dream, you watch the movies and all of that, and today I can afford to have the cars that I want, and that was something. Actually, this is something for me, and I'm able to give a great life to my families, my children, and everything. So That's a little bit about me. And
so today, Freddie, you are a business owner.
I am.
But this is not something that happened overnight.
No.
You started as early as 8 years old. And when we talk about achieving this level of success, you're saying that you're able to give a comfortable life, a decent life to your family. But this is not your regular, decent, comfortable life.
When I was 8 years old, I was selling candies, and I would take it to school. I would sell 2 of them for 25 CFA, and that was a pretty profitable business. And for some reason, I was always asking myself why the other kids were not selling that. And other than that, I was also selling, I don't know if you know what they were calling lembas.
I don't know exactly what that is.
It's kind of corn. It's like a powder corn that you grill, and then you add some sugar, and it was called lembas.
And people loved it.
Yeah, people like kids were loving that growing up, and they were paying like 10 CFA.
You have to know what people may like.
That's right.
Your target clientele, what would they like and what can they afford to buy? So with 10 francs CFA, they could buy a little bit of the pack of lambas and enjoy it and be happy.
Yeah. And
you, in return, you will make some profit. So basically, you were already applying those principles very earlier on in life. I want us to, move a little bit further and understand that you did business at that point. You were not neglecting school. You were still moving forward with your studies, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and I want you to take us to your next level when you reach the university level. At that point, what was your first most profitable or lucrative business at that point at the university?
So when I was in, I'll call it college, because I was trying to have my associate degree. So first of all,
in what field was that?
In computer science.
Yeah,
computer science. So I was the kind of guy that be in class early and I'll put everything that I have to sell in the board, so my classmate can see that I was selling cell phones. I was selling pretty much everything. So if I know that I can buy this cell phone for like 10,000 CFA and sell it for 15 or 12, I'll make 2,000 profit. So that's how I started the business as in college.
Yeah.
So I was selling computers as well, like laptops, and I was selling everything.
You sell anything that can make you money.
That can make me money, yeah.
So basically you were a student businessman.
That's correct.
The hustler. That you were a hustler. And that's impressive because did that affect, the quality of your report card, like your result in school? Did that somehow affect it? How did your parents react to you, turning into a businessman while they were expecting you to go to school?
I was not like a straight A student. I always have a philosophy when I was thinking, like, if I go to school, I just take whenever it's going to, I'm just going to focus on whenever it's going to take me to where I want to go.
Okay.
So I was not the kind of guy that will go and trying to master the law, or because in Africa we have like 23 majors.
Right.
Well, like I was just focusing on doing. I loved the computer science, and I was just doing that. So I was not a straight A student, but I always make sure that I get the job done. That I was just go to school and have like the exact point that I needed
to move to the
next level. So I wasn't trying to be like
an extraordinary student.
Yeah.
But you were just trying to get enough knowledge to be able to become an extraordinary businessman.
That's exactly right.
Awesome. And I like that idea because at the end of the day, people think that you have to do just one thing. And people will tell you, oh, I didn't need to go to college, but I'm still a millionaire, or I still, I'm rich and wealthy and all that. And others are telling you, it's important to go to school, and that's the best way to make it in life. But it doesn't have to be one or the other. It can be a combination of both, as long as you get what you need out of that. So I'm really impressed that you didn't neglect your studies. You still went ahead and were taking all the knowledge that you needed, and I'm sure it helped you down the road. So, Freddie, I want you to take us, to another level at this point. Still back home in Cameroon, you were already calling yourself a hustler. Is there something like an anecdote or a story that you can tell us, funny or not, but something about that triggered something in you as a businessman? Because I remember you and I had a conversation about you getting into real estate in Cameroon, for example.
Yeah.
And I was very impressed as to your way of thinking. In general, people complain when they see something, but you instead of complaining, you decide to take action, out of the situation you have at hand. Can you tell us a little bit about the story, about you getting into real estate back home?
That's a great one, because for those who, I don't know if it's like everywhere in the world is the same thing. When I finally got my associate degrees, I wasn't able to find a job. The job market is very tight in Cameroon, and people like in the Cameroon or maybe other countries in Africa, they know that. So after my associate degrees, I didn't have the finance was really tight, because nobody will help me with, because people will pay, like my sister, I'm very grateful to have her, that was here in the United States. She was the one that financed all my educations in the college. So whenever I got my associate degree, it was like, you just have to go ahead and go out there and trying to get a job.
Right. One thing that I like about you is the fact that you're not one of those people who complain, right, when facing difficulties or tough times or things are not going the way they want. In your case, back home in Cameroon or in Africa in general, we know sometimes unemployment is really, really high. And so when you finish your studies, what was your experience, with employment, with the job market, and what are some of the things that you had to do in order to survive?
That's a great question, and it was hard, like really hard. I wasn't able to get a job. I wasn't able to find any job at all, and then I didn't have any resources. Like whenever you finish school, you are going to be cut off. Like nobody's going to give you any money, or it's like you're done.
Yeah, they did a lot paying your studies already.
Yeah, that's a lot, and I'm very grateful for that. And you will not expect somebody, and my dad was retired already, so I was just staying home with my dad and my sister, and it was tough. So
but you were staying home, but you were applying for jobs at least?
I was applying for jobs every single day, every single day. I will apply for, and at some point I just even went out of the computer job. I was just trying to do something, to make some money. And then you have a girlfriend, and you can't even provide
for your girlfriend.
Yeah, you can't even take the taxi
out.
To go to her house.
Or go to the movies on avant-premiere.
Yeah, it was hard. So I stayed home, and my sister had a friend that came from Central Africa.
Yeah, Central Africa.
RCA. That's the Republic of Central Africa. That's another country. And she was looking for a studio where she can stay. And she was still in RCA, and my sister asked me to find a studio for her. And I was like, okay, I can do that. I have nothing to do. So I start to walk, and I saw that sign somewhere. And the guy said that he has some studios, some
And that's a
apartments.
real estate sign
Yeah, that's a real
showing,
estate. Yeah.
yeah, apartments available for rent.
Correct. Like back home, it's
Yes.
not like you have a website, or it was just like if somebody has something, they're gonna put like on a
They're
small
gonna use
board.
chalk and just write on the
correct.
board.
They write on the board 2-bedroom, 2-bath, and sometimes they slash it and they put the price like 50,000
Yes,
CFA.
CFA.
Yep. So I took the number of the guy and I called him. He's like, "Oh, I'm a real estate agent." I'm like, "Okay." So what should I do here?
What's the process?
What's the process? Correct. And then the guy told me that I have to pay him 5,000 CFA.
That's about $10.
That's like $10, yeah.
Yes.
For him to go and show me the house. I was like, okay. So I called the girl. I was like, okay, I found some place. I found somebody that has some, he has quite inventory. So I'm like, he has like 3 or 4. So, but he's asking 5,000 CFA in order for me to at least see the house.
Correct.
And she sent the money. I gave to the dude, and we went out. And he told me that if we are interested to take the apartment, he's gonna have 1 month commission. So if
from you or from the owner?
No, from from me.
Oh.
From I'm the one that's gonna. So I told the girl, like, the guy, if you decided to you have to pay him 1 month.
Yeah.
I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, on top of the $10.
Yeah, I'm like, whoa, this is really interesting. And then it triggered something in my brain. I was like, this is something that I don't have to have any like upfront money to do.
Correct.
All I have to do is to walk around. I have my 2 feet. I'm just gonna walk around, and if I see a house that maybe is in the process of building, or maybe it's like for rent by owner, I'm just gonna take that property and put it in my inventory. I'm just gonna replicate the same thing that the guy did.
Right.
So, and I did. By the time you know, I was making like $10,000
$10,000 CFA.
10,000 CFA
Yes.
a week, because
that's about $20, but that's still a lot of money. You know, we're talking about 15 years ago.
Yeah. And then I was just going show people houses, and sometime they were taking the house and I will have the commission. Sometimes they won't. And
I have a question for you, though. There's something important in what you just said. In general, when our people in our countries, even everywhere, even here in the United States, when people graduate, they have this expectation that there's a job waiting for them somewhere.
Exactly.
They have the expectation that somebody owes them a job. There's a sense of entitlement. And that's a real problem. That's one of the reasons that a lot of people are frustrated. Because if you feel entitled, you're going to be frustrated. You have to go out there and fend for yourself. You have to create opportunities if you don't find an opportunity. And that's what I find impressive in your story, is that while you were in the process of looking for a job, you were still also thinking and brainstorming on how you can find opportunities to make money. And one of the opportunities you found was not an opportunity that you created. You could, you know, look around and see what other people are doing and be inspired from what they're doing. Can I do that? And can I do that better? And that's how you start a business. That's how you get into your own, you know, activity and start making money rather than waiting for the money to come from somewhere. So I wanted to point out that mindset that you have. Instead of being there and complaining, you went out there to find opportunities and create opportunities for yourself and find even things that already existed. However, one thing that is special about what you did is that you didn't do it like the guy was doing. Tell us about that story.
Correct.
You took it one step ahead.
Because everything you do, like in life, every single skills that you learn, it's going to be profitable at some point. And I always tell, even though like today I'm selling cars or I'm in the real estate, like some things that I do is different than what other people will do. So that guy was putting his ads on the board, like he would take like a piece of board and ride with chalk. But I'm like, I'm educated. I know internet and everything. So my ads were not on the small board. Like I was going further. I had one on the small board, but I was going further, and I'll have some ad on the platform. So
Yeah.
there was a platform called Kerawa back then, and I used
Is it
that.
something similar to Craigslist
It's
here?
exactly like
Okay.
Craigslist here. So
Okay.
I used that, and then I was posting. So I had some people coming, like, so imagine, for example, that girl in RCA.
Yes.
If she was just able to go on Kerawa and find the thing, she didn't have to maybe have someone like me to be like a middleman to help her find something. So I was using that platform to actually sell or rent the houses that I had in my inventory.
And you can actually touch more people,
correct.
that way.
Yep.
You know, because for you to have a sign at a corner of a road, there's only so much,
so
you know,
much people
that you can, you know, so many people that you can touch with that ad. But when you have an ad on the internet at this point, that means you now have access to people doing searches online, and then, you know, with search optimization, maybe Kurawa was able to, you know, come up first in the searches when people were looking for rentals. So I'm really impressed that you took something that somebody was already doing, and then you improved the process of doing that, and you were able now to take it to a level where you can probably make more money than the person who actually, like the first real estate agent that you met.
'Cause mine was modern. Like, that was a huge difference.
Yeah.
Because when something is modern, I have more credit than the guy.
Right.
'Cause when somebody see a well-done ad on the internet, it's more serious than somebody that has it on the cardboard and on the street.
Right.
So that one was a very, like, and I would not regret if I didn't have like any experience, like if I didn't go to school and learn all the computer, because internet was not like a big thing back then like it is today, because even the access, like people that were going to the cyber coffee, it was not like, that was something.
It wasn't accessible to everyone.
To everyone. So I have to pay like 200 for 1 hour so I can do my post real quick. And internet was slow. So
very slow. And you kept going. Another important thing, there's so much that we had to unpack. Like you are like, and you have so much in you. You're like a book of business, right? I'm always overwhelmed when I have conversations with you, because there's always something to learn. Another thing that impressed me in this story, and there's a reason why I'm really insisting in this story, because I want people to learn a lot of things from that. You came back and partnered with that same man who showed you that property.
Yeah.
I want you to tell us about that, because some people think that, you know, it's all about being competitive, right? When you're doing something that somebody's already doing, you don't have to be competing with the person. You can actually partner with the person. The person, there's something that he had that you didn't have. He had a lot of connections and inventory.
Correct. Yeah.
You had something that he didn't have. You had access and computer knowledge, right? You were able to digitalize your inventory. So, you know, just tell us a little bit about that.
When I started that, I, like, at some point, I was tired to just walk around not knowing where I was going, just like to be lucky to find like a house with a sign for rent. So I went back to the guy. I was like, okay, let's work together. And he's like, how? I was like, so show me your listings. I'll take the photographs and then I'll post it on the internet, and we are going to share the commission. How about that? He was like, okay, sounds good. So he showed me his inventory, and then I was listing it, and the guy was impressed how fast we were moving.
There you go.
Like houses. And
yeah.
One day he called me and he said, like, Freddie, do you know that like where you are really going to make money, it's going to be when you sell a house.
Not just renting, but selling.
I'm like, tell me about that. He was like, okay, if you sell a house, you're going to have 5% of the selling price. Damn.
You started doing the math.
Yeah, I started doing the math. I was like, damn. So if I sell a house for 1 million CFA, I'm going to have 5% of 1 million. So in my mind, it was like, whoa.
Yeah.
This is it. I'm going to make it. So
I like how you say you're going to make it.
I'm like, okay, let's just do the same thing. And we did the same thing that we were doing with rentals. And then he showed me some houses. I posted them. And the good thing was, beside Kerawa, there was another website that was from people in France, in Europe, in United States. I forgot the name of that site. So I did a lot of research and I found that platform where I was posting, because I know like people from the diaspora had like more, they were much comfortable than the locals with the money.
Right.
So I was like, okay, I'm going to extend it. And boom, first month we sold one house.
Right.
Like the guy was like, whoa. Like in 3 years he never sell, and he was like, man, we need to do something together. And the guy was the kind of guy, he was always like, the way he was dressed up was not really serious. Like he would come to show you a house with some flip-flops. I'm like, yo, this is not how. And then just growing up, because at some point, this is going to be a long story. At some point, I was even selling like clothes. I was buying like used clothes in the marché Mokolo, and then I would just resell it. So I was kind of always like dressed really nice. And whenever I start to list houses for sale, I thought you have to be professional.
You have to look good.
You have to look good if you have to sit with somebody and talk about 20 million CFA. You can't show up with flip-flops and then come in to show a house sweating. And I'm like, this guy, he's not really serious. So let me show you how we do things. So I was dressing well with my tie and nice haircut, and I would show the house. And people was impressed. And that's how I sold my first house. And I made on that one, with the split, I made like 700,000 CFA.
That's about that's about $1,500 or $1,400.
Yeah, that's about $1,400.
And you were about 25 years old?
No, I was like 20 years old back then.
Oh,
yeah, I was like 20.
That's quite impressive.
Yeah,
at 20 years old. That's
I was
impressive.
Like 20 years
but
old.
that was almost a million CFA.
Yeah,
and you were only 20, and you were freshly graduating from college, and you were looking for a job, but in the meantime, you were not folding your hands, waiting for something to happen. You were going to make things happen, right? That's quite impressive. I want us to move a little bit further, right, in life. To come to your life here in the United States. I know that it's quite a journey, and that's the reason why I have this show. We have this show because we want people to see the story behind success. They see you today. You are a business owner with multiple car dealerships. You are training car dealership owners. You have multiple real estate properties, doing short-term rentals, and you two living in a mansion in a beautiful neighborhood in a lake, in a lake community, right? And that's absolutely amazing for somebody who has been in the U.S. only for 5 years. So I want us to move a little bit further to come to your life here in the United States. We're skipping a lot of things, but tell us a little bit about how you arrived here in the United States. Like, how was your English? And, what was when you first arrived here, how did you feel since you were already making some dough back home and you got here? Tell us about, that complete change, in your lifestyle and having to start afresh in a new environment.
Whenever I move here and start like on the job market, if I want to talk about that, that was a shock, because I'm just gonna go back a little bit home,
Yes.
and then just come back.
No problem.
So, back home, at some point, like selling some real estate, I was able to actually start my business in computer. So I had a small company where we were wiring, building, and we were doing some consultation with companies. So I was making decent money, like Africa size. I was not like rich, but I was comfortable with what I was making. So, and my background in computer was at the point where moving to the United States, I could be easily able to start at maybe $200,000.
Right.
Because I have some certifications in networking. I started Oracle for a little bit, and I have a lot of I had a lot of experience. But whenever I moved here, we were selected to the DV lottery, and then we moved. So I moved here with my wife and 2 kids, and we were living at my sister's house.
And that's in Maryland.
That was
correct?
in Maryland, correct. So we landed in Maryland in 2016, and
how old were you?
I was 30 years old when I moved to the United States. Exactly 30 years old.
Yes.
And I was really confident whenever I moved here, because I didn't know from the TV, you don't know what to expect.
Correct, yeah.
Coming, like, the life, you think that, oh, it's going to be easy to just go, out there, start walking and start buying those Dodge Chargers. And because I always wanted to have from Fast and Furious, wanted to have a Dodge Charger and stuff.
Right.
So I moved here, start applying for jobs, and that was a terrible experience. Like,
wow.
Horrible. Like, you see, like, somebody's talking to you, and when the person laughs, you laugh. When they are serious, you become serious. It was like, I was dumb. I come from, in Yaoundé, like, Cameroon is divided in 2. We have English part and Francophone part. So I never spoke any English.
Oh, so
like,
there's a language barrier.
That was the language barrier where I had to face, because my resume looked very good.
Right.
But every time I was going through an interview, I always feel like they thought I was dumb. Like, I'm a liar. I just like, so it was not easy at all. And at some point, I just figured that I have to feed my family. So
oh, wow.
I just started to go do deliver pizza. So I work at Papa John.
Are you serious right now?
Yep. That was
oh my God, college graduate.
Yep, before
delivering
Papa
pizza.
John, because I had my driver's license 6 months after we moved in.
Okay.
So before Papa John, I was working at the Giant store as an overnight stalker. I was making $9.25 an hour. So I worked that job for about 3 months, for the time for me to save some money. But at the same time, with the family here, I had to at least contribute to the house where we were living. You can't just come to somebody's place and just stay and you have a job and you don't contribute. I didn't see that fair, so I was contributing. And
was your wife working?
no, my wife almost never worked since we moved to the United States, because the reality was we had 2 kids. And the most important thing that I learned when we moved to the United States, it's my sister told me something. She said, because my sister, she's a mom of 5 kids. And she told me that it will be a waste if you make $1,000,000 and you have to go visit your son to the prison. I was like, what do you mean? She went.
That's deep.
Yeah, that was so deep for my understanding, because I didn't know how the society works. Because the plan was for me to work and my wife to work. So I was overnight stalker and she can take maybe a day job.
Right.
And then whenever she came back from her day job, I'll go work. My sister said, that's a bad idea. I have to make sure I work and I take care of my family. And it makes sense, because if we were working together, the kid will not have any education. And we cannot even afford, we can't at that point even afford like daycare.
Right.
Where the kids are going to be at whenever we are working
You're
together.
out there. Right.
So that was the problem that we faced wherever we moved here, was the language barrier. That was the big issue.
Right.
And
so yeah, with your 2 jobs, so you gave up on one of the jobs and then kept another one. But what's the transition now? Like, how long were you just an employee here in the United States? And what was the transition between going from being an employee and now being this, this big business owner that you are today? Tell us a little bit about that transition.
That started like whenever so let me bring another story back.
Right.
So my sister and her husband, they never, my sister stopped working when her first children was about a year old. So she decided to focus on her family. And whenever they were doing that, the husband was the only provider. But at some point, they started to flip cars. When I say flip cars, they were buying one car, drive it for a little bit, sell it, make some profit. So whenever we moved to the United States, my sister was selling cars at home, used cars.
So she was a stay-at-home mom, but also she was selling cars from home.
From home.
That's absolutely impressive.
So that was the hustle that she was doing to support the family.
Right.
So whenever I was looking for jobs, and after 4, 5, 6 months, I just gave up. And I was like, in order for me maybe to one day have a computer job, I have to work on my English. But right now, I cannot afford to go to school and just work on my English.
Because you have a family to feed.
I have family to feed. So I start to watch what my sister was doing. So she was buying cars, used cars, and she would sell it and make like $15,000, $2,000, $2,500 profit on one vehicle.
That she bought for how much?
Honestly,
like
at
maybe
the beginning,
$2,000?
at the beginning, I didn't know the numbers.
Okay.
Like the dollars was not even familiar to me.
You were not familiar to that yet.
Correct. But whenever I was asking her, like, how much profit did you make from this? And she was telling me, I was like, Like, I was applying for jobs that was paying like $30 an hour. And then this is like a side hustle that pays somebody much more than that.
Right, more than the yearly salary you were going to get selling cars.
Correct. So
wow.
That's whenever I started to like watch what she was doing really closely. And then the challenge she had at some point was the repairs on the cars. That was the part that was eating a part of the profit, because she was struggling find somebody to work on the cars. And as you know, it's like mechanics are like way too high here. So to change an alternator or a starter, she was paying like $300-400. So I offer her to learn how to do that. I'll go on YouTube And then I was like, okay, if we buy some tools, I can do some of the stuff. She was like, for real? I was like, yeah. So I started doing that, and I started to love that.
Were you learning a few things like on YouTube? Were you doing some research?
Yeah. YouTube was my everything, because in YouTube, the guy is showing how to do it, and you just use the tools and you just do it. So I was doing brakes, alternator, starter.
Wow.
Like I can replace the serpentine belt. I can replace like some radiators, and I was pretty good at some point, and that's where I decided that I have to go deep in the mechanic side, because if I can actually learn how to fix cars, I can buy some cars with issues and fix them
and make more profit.
And make more profit.
That's impressive.
Yeah, I didn't want all the profit to go to the mechanic shop, because you go to the mechanic shops, they want to fix like sell you everything.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And I was like, no, I'll just take some time. So in 2017, March 2017, I started Lincoln Tech Academy in Columbia, Maryland. That's a 12 months program, but they gave me a 1 month program on the BMW side, because my GPA was good enough to qualify for that, and they saw that I was kind of sharp.
And Lincoln Tech was an institute that specializes in training mechanics. Okay. Auto mechanics.
Yeah, automotive technicians.
Okay,
that's
automotive technicians. That's a more fancy name.
More fancy name.
Automotive
Sell you that $30,000.